Hello Year 5. Today's maths lesson we are going to be looking at the area of compound shapes. So here are your first questions to warm up your brain this morning. Pause the video and have a go at completing them. Okay, so we know that 7 times 4 is going to be 28, which means in total we need to do 28, add the 8, that's going to give us 36, because 36 take away 8 is going to give us our answer 28. A rectangle has sides of 9 and 3. What is the perimeter? We know the perimeter is the length all the way on the outside, so if we add 9 and 3 that gives us 12. That's only half of our side, so we have to multiply it by 2. Therefore our answer is 24 metres. Now a rectangle has 9 and 3 metres again. What is the rectangle's area? Well, here all we have to do is we have to multiply them, and the answer is 27 metres squared. To work out 65 and the missing number, we could do the inverse of 110 take away 65, which gives us the answer of 45. So for today's learning, we're going to be looking at what is a compound shape. So here we have a rectangle and a square. These are not compound shapes. However, if we took the edge off and we combined them together, this is a compound shape. So a compound shape is a shape that is made up of 2 or more shapes. You can also have compound shapes like this. If we look closely, we can see we have a rectangle and a triangle joined together. I'd like to pause and have a think about how we might work out what the area is of the shape on the screen. So we have our scale. The easy thing for us to do, we could simply count the squares. So if we counted all of the squares, we'd know that we have 12 squares. Therefore, the area is 12 centimetres squared. Here we have the same shape, and we know that the area is 12 centimetres squared, but we need to come up with another strategy that could make it easy for us to be able to work out the area. Now, what we could do is we could turn this into a compound shape. Here, if I draw my line, I've now created a bigger and a smaller rectangle, A and B. This one has 2 squares and this one has 10. By working out the area of the 2 separate shapes, all we have to do now is add them together, and the answer would give us 12 centimetres squared. Equally, I could split my shape this way, so I have a square and 2 rectangles. So I could work out the areas of the squared and the 2 bigger rectangles and add those together as well. Equally, I could use this technique where I could create one big shape. And we know using our array skills, we just have to work out the measurements on both sides. So 3 multiplied by 5 was going to give us 15. However, what we have done is we will need to subtract 3. And you may be thinking, well, why do I need to subtract 3? Well, if you look closely, we actually added 3 additional squares when we made our new rectangle shape. Therefore, those 3 don't count as part of this compound shape. Therefore, we need to remove the additional squares that we added. So 15 take away 3 would give us 12. So here is an example of a compound shape, but this one is different because we haven't got the squares in the background to be able to help us. So we need to utilise the skills we learnt on the slide before to be able to help us to work out the area or perimeter of a compound shape that doesn't have the squares on them. Now this one is very useful because it has already given us the measurements and we've been split into 2 different rectangles, A and B. So to work out A, we multiply 6 by 5. We know the area is then 30 centimetres squared. If we were to work out the area for B, 8 times 2 would give us 16 centimetres squared. Now, in order to find the area of the entire shape, all we have to do is add them together, and the answer is 46 centimetres squared. Now here is another compound shape that has been given to us. However, we are missing some of our measurements. So we need to now utilise our skills to try and work out what those missing measurements might be. So here, if we split them, we can now split them into 2 different rectangles. I'm going to label them as A and B. Pause the screen and I'd like you to have a think. How are we going to work out what those missing lengths are to calculate our area? So what we could do is we could start off with rectangle A. We know that 10 multiplied by 6 is 60 centimetres squared. For B, we have both of the measurements that we need. 8 times 7 is going to give us 56 centimetres squared. In order to work out the area of both, all we have to do is add them together, and our answer is 116 centimetres squared. Now I'd like to have a go at doing questions 1 to 3 on your worksheet. So here we have another compound shape, and the majority of the measurements have been given to us. What we can do is we can split this now into our two separate shapes in order to work out the two separate areas. I'm going to label them as A and B to make it easier. Let's start with shape A. We know that we have the measurements of 4 and 5, so 4 multiplied by 5 is going to give us 20 centimetres squared. We also have the measurements for shape B. 12 multiplied by 3, or 3 multiplied by 12, gives us 36. In order to complete the area for the entire compound shape, we must add them together. And we know the answer would give us 56 centimetres squared. Now, here is exactly the same shape. Okay, but this time round we're going to split it differently. So we're now going to split these into 3 different shapes. Now, I'm going to label these A, B and C again, but I'm not going to start with A. I'm going to start with the one that has the most measurements. That's going to make it easier for me to work out. And I already know the lengths and the shapes for shape B. So we'll start with A because we know that A is 3 times 6. So 3 times 6 is 18 centimetres squared. We know that B is going to be 5 times 7. Now, where have I got the 7 from? We need to look at the lengths of the shape that's already here and on here as well. So if we move the 3 centimetres across, all we have to do is add the 4 and the 3 together, and that's how we get the 7. So 5 multiplied by 7, we know is going to give us 35. Now that we have that additional measurement on this side, we just have to move it over to this side as well. We know that 3 multiplied by 1 is going to give us 3 centimetres squared. All we need to do now is we need to add those 3 together, and this is my number sentence, and the answer is also 56 centimetres squared. So it is exactly the same answer as the shape on the slide before, both the same compound shape, but we worked them out using different shapes within our compound shape to give us the answer. Now here is a different shape that is missing some of our measurements, okay? So what I might do is I actually might turn this into one big shape. So if I add that additional line on there, I've now turned this into a closed shape rather than a compound shape. Now I have the measurements of 6 and 8. So I'd like to have a sit and think, with those measurements that I already know, how am I going to work out the area of this shape? So I know that I've got 6 times 8, so I know that 8 times 6 is going to be 48 centimetres squared. All I have to do now is to remove the area of the missing shape in the middle that we created when I drew the extra line. So 4 times 3 is 12. So all we now need to do is need to do 48, take away that 12 centimetres squared to give us the answer 36 centimetres squared. Now here is a slightly more complex shape. Pause the video and have a think using the skills that you know already. How might we work out the area of this shape? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to split this into 3 different shapes to break down our addition of our areas. So we're going to start, we know that the top bit is 3 and we know that the length of it is 15. So the easiest shape to work out the measurement for is going to be B. So B, 3 times 15 is going to give us 45 centimetres. So that's one area already worked out for our middle rectangle. Now we don't know the missing length of this side of A. However, we know that this side is 4 and we know that this side is 3, so added together that gives us 12. In total, all the way across, we know it's 12 centimetres long. Therefore, 12, take away the 7, is going to give us 5. So we now have the measurements of this length for our A shape. We also now need to work out the length of this shape. Now we know that this side is 5 and this side is 5, therefore added together is 10. And we know that the total length is 15 centimetres. So 15 take away 10 is going to give us 5 centimetres. So effectively, A is now a square. All we do is multiply 5 by 5, that gives us 25 centimetres squared. Now that we have those additional measurements, we need to work out the measurement of C. We know that this length here is going to be the same as this one, therefore it's 5 centimetres. We already have our measurement of 4, so our rectangle, we multiply 4 by 5, and that's going to give us 20. All we have to do now to work out the area of that compound shape is add them all together. Here is my number sentence, added together, the answer gives us 90 centimetres squared. Now this shape here has actually given us the area of 63 millimetres squared. We need to work out what the perimeter of the shape is. So we need to work out the missing lengths of our shape. In order to work out this length, we know that we have 12 and we know that we have 3. So to work out this length, if we take them away from each other, that's going to give us 9 millimeters. Therefore, that missing length is 9. Now we need to work out the missing length on this side. Now we have the 4 millimeters on the other side. So to make it easier, we're going to split this into a compound shape. We know that the area of this is 48 because we now do 12 multiplied by 4. We also know that the area is 63 millimeters in altogether. So to work out the area of our other compound shape, all we do is 63 take away 48. That's going to give us 15 millimeters squared. So we know that's the missing area for our shape here. Now, in order to work out the external lengths, we know that our number sentence is going to be 3 times something is going to give us 15. We can do the inverse and do 15 divided by 3, and we know that the answer is 5. Therefore, the missing measurement on this side is 5 millimeters long. All we need to do now is to work out the length of that one side. We have our 4 and our 5, we add them together. That's going to give us 9 millimeters long. Now, let's go back to the question. What did the question actually want us to work out? Well, the question says, what is the perimeter of the shape? So perimeter is the length all the way around the outside of the closed shape. So we need to form our number sentence and add them all together. Here is my number sentence. Now I'm going to make my number sentence a little bit easier because I have some numbers in there that I can add together. I'm going to change those 9s because I already had another 9 in there together. I also know that 5 and 4 together is 9, so I could rewrite this with my 3 9s. I also know that 3 9s is 27, so I could break my sentence down even further. Of 12 add 27 add 3. I know that 27 add 30 add 12, then it gives us 42 millimeters. Now it's your turn to have a go at finishing off the questions on your sheet. Once you have completed that sheet, I would like you to have a go at one of the 2 questions that has been sent home to you. If you feel like you need to challenge yourself further, please then have a go at completing the extension task. Good luck, Year 5.